Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to another episode with me, Najma Ansari, and we are going to try and connect with the Quran. Today we're going to be looking at Surah Saffat. So before we start, I'd love you to listen to this recording of a passage from the first few ayahs of Surah Saffat. So, Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصافات صفا فالزاجرات زجرا فالتاليات ذكرا إن إلهكم لواحد رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما ورب المشارق.
Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So that was a passage from of Surah Saffat from 1 to 7, and it's talking about angels and how Allah is the Rabb, and with everything between it, or the Mashariq, it's giving it the plural of all the points of where in the east where the sun rises from. And then it says, we have decked the lower heavens with the beauty of stars and for beauty. And this comes up again in Surah and more in Surah. At the end surahs, all of these little gems from here will be given again in a nutshell. So there we have the idea of the star just not only beautifying it for us for the beauty of the night and for guidance, as it says in Surah Anam about, the stars are there to act as guide for you, but it's also to cast away against the obstinate, rebellious shaitan in Marid. The Bardud Shaitan, the ones who try and get whiffed of what's going on in the heavens and then try and bring it. So that is what this first passage is about. And then let me just go and give you, again, a synopsis of what the surah is. It's a long surah in terms of ayahs. It's got 182 ayahs or so. Yes, and but it's because it's a Makki surah, it's got it in bullet points. It does sort of pick up whatever was in Yasin. It's given it in different ways. It is that it takes up again back on the idea of Tawheed. The fact that these angels are mentioned, it is that they are Allah's creation to serve His purpose, and they're not in partnership with Allah. So those are what needs to be remembered in this first passage 1 to 10. From 11 to 13, those who make fun of the Akhirah, and time and again, Allah, out of love for Him, and that's what we need to know, that Allah in His mercy, we have no idea of what's going on in our background of how Allah is trying to keep us safe, but Allah is keeping us safe. And with that in mind, don't make fun of the Akhirah. Don't do that. Don't out of Allah's mercy for you, for love for you, He's keep on reminding you. This goes on from 11 to 39. Then from 40 to 61, a description of the reward of the believers for the effort of the yes, this is beautiful. What I found is this passage, it's telling how people are able to stay on track even though your whole environment around you is trying to derail you, to mislead you, and so on. And it's like, have a look when they're in Jannah, they'll look down into Jahannam and they say, this guy nearly derailed me. So when you're in corporate, when you're in any of these sort of situations where your deen is made fun of, you are mocked up, you are maligned, maybe doesn't happen so much, but in my days it was definitely, you were always on the defensive about your deen. You couldn't for an instant presume that your deen is the best and it's there. So they said, gosh, oh by Allah, you were about to cause me into perdition. This is in ayah 55, 56. Had it not been for Allah's grace, Lord, ni'mata Rabbi laka lakunta min al muhdarin, you would have brought me amongst the bad people. So it's giving a detail about how hard it is in this world to navigate that. Then the beautiful thing is that flip side, from 62 to 70, the fate of those who in their frenzy of blindly following their forefathers and they oppress the messengers. So at one level, we as Muslims are resisting the onslaught of the kuffar around us, whether work, any other place, of society generally. And then there are those who, in their kufr, in their frenzy of blindly following, they are just following the blind, and that's going to cause them harm. And this is from the passage up to ayah 70. And then from 71 to 148 is a whole passage about all the prophets who came. And this is also so beautiful because he keeps saying it starts with Nuh alayhi salam and how it ends off with saying, and salamun ala nuhin fil alameen. Salutations and salams be on Nuh among all the nations. And we do, and the next ayah, inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. And this is the way we reward the doers of good. So again, a take home, because he was a believing nation and we overcame from the flood and so on. So that mention, and he came. And then Ibrahim is the next one to mention. And I love these passages because it's in bullet-sized ways. It's giving us what these prophets did. So behold, waja rabbuhu bi qalbin salim. So this idea of qalb salim is really so significant also in our deen, that's what we need to bring to Allah, and that's what's going to be accepted from us. And then he looked at the stars and he said, I'm sick. And then what he did to the people, it's another beautiful passage for a little bit. And then they wanted to throw him in the fire. And the beautiful passage which says, anyway, into the fire, and it failed. But they were the ones who were humiliated. And then he had a righteous son, and he gave him, and this one was Fabashiril Bighulamin Halim. So Bighulamin Halim is also, we were taught how this is referring to Ismail alayhi salam. Later he's talking about, and it's about the sacrifice, that I had the vision and I had this dream, and what do you say, and how they were both patient. And in the ayah, this is to do with where in Zulhajjah, in the after Yawm al-Arafat, Muzdalifah and Mina, that's when we do the sacrifice, remembering this beautiful and it comes here in Surah Saffat, if you want to know. It's from passage 102 to 107, and then that we ransomed him with a momentous azim, with a zabhin azim, that in place of the son, Allah sent him. But how the commitment, I mean, Ibrahim alayhi salam's tests were infinite. And so what is it? Salamun ala Ibrahim. Kadhalika najzil muhsinin. That's how we reward the doers of good. And we left this blessing for him among generations to come. So the beautiful salawat that we say in our salah for Rasulullah sallallahu, it's kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala al Ibrahim. So all that is beautiful goosebump moments for me. And then after that it talks about, then it says we gave him Ishaq and wala Ishaq, and he was give him one of the righteous sons, also Salihin, and he was favored with goodness. Then it talks about Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, and what they came, and it's all giving us in a bullet point, because previously Surah Hud and Surah Araf and other places we have these stories given to us. Again, what I love is when it says Salamun wa kadhalika najzil muhsinin, and before that Salamun ala Musa wa Harun, and peace and blessing. So, and we had this in Surah Yasin also, Salamun, when we will be in Jannah, we will get that. So, but we can pray even in the dunya, salam, because salam also means contentment, peace, being in comfort, being health-wise in a good place and all that. So, when you read these ayahs, say, Ya Allah, give us salam also. Give us salam to hear. And there is that beautiful passage of those, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun, ulaika alayhim salawatu min rabbihim wa rahmah. This is how Allah gives rahmah and mercy on them too. So as soon as you can start trying to link, it's just so beautiful, so wonderful. Allah says this here, He says the same thing there. So these are, I'm just going to stop with all these stories of the Rasul. Then it's with Lut alayhi salam, and his wife is always mentioned as the one who lagged behind, who wasn't part of his family. Then Yunus alayhi salam, and then so on. So there I'm going to just take a break and stop with the story of Yunus alayhi salam, and then we'll continue towards for the end of it. And I'm also going to share something else there. So we're taking a short break, and we'll be back shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. You're with Najman Sari, and we're having a brief overlook on Surah Saffat. So as I keep saying, it's just a snippet of the beauty of the surahs, and by no means is it whatever I'm saying is the last word. It's not even the basic word. It's at a 101 level of to kindle the interest. So in Surah Saffat, this beautiful surah, we have these passage of these messengers again, and what was the end of these people with this with what happens to the people who disbelieve because of their disbelief, what happens to them. So I just wanted to link that in from 11 to 39 we had the people who make fun of the hereafter and they are being admonished, and back towards the end in from the fact that we gave these historical evidences of the nations of that they denied their messengers, Ibrahim alayhi salam, and now Nuh alayhi salam before that, and then even Yunus alayhi salam, Lut alayhi salam, and even after they've warned them, they were destroyed. So, though the beauty is the refrain comes back. In the beginning, we talked about the angels. Towards now the tail end, it's going to be back to the conversation on angels. But 11 to 39 has resonates a bit with 71 to 148. The middle one about the good guys and them staying firm despite all the derailing possibilities they have around them, links with the idea of those who instead just blindly follow their forefathers, oppose the messenger and say that's all rubbish. That kind of play on it, see how it works. So I found that also a useful exercise for yourself if you can do it. If you get somebody who a beautiful mufassir who gives you this breakdown, that always helps more than just reading it yourself. And the whole idea is to connect at a heart level with you. I just want to go back to the idea of with Ibrahim alayhi salam and how Allah said Salamun ala Ibrahim, and he was a it says somewhere qalb salim, that he had a qalb salim. So I want to pick up on that and read you a poem on qalb salim, which goes that this is what we all should be hopefully striving for. So it says, Qalb Salim, aim for Jannah with a Qalb Salim. Stay in humility, be Halim. Polish, shine, burnish the heart, know what to do, where to start. Avoid shirk, the major sin. Kibr, the next one to bin. A heart to keep rust-free, no ran, with tawbah, istighfar, and the best bayan. Zikrullah for itminani qalb, lights up the serenity bulb. Diseases of the heart, avoid like a plague, stay away from what is doubtful and vague. Good company helps a qalb salim. Buy for Allah and mercy from the Rabbul Rahim. Learn what to avoid, what to aspire for. It will help to get to the Jannah's door. From hasad and shaitanic traits refrain. Before too long it will be the end of game. Let it be with the qalb salim that we face the Rabbul Kareem. And it actually has footnotes to all the words used which might not be familiar to an English speaker. So should you wish to have a copy of it, you're more than welcome to email me, and I would like to then share it and be able to give you this. So that was just to give you that when you read anything from the Quran, try and take this home message for yourself of how should our qalb, how do we develop ourselves, Kaleem? How do we try to be gentle, fair? So that was just the one thing. Then the other thing, now that we've come towards the end of the surah of where we are talking about what it started with about the angels and so on. So it's also, the non-Muslims, the Quraysh, we had it in Surah Fatir, in Surah, previous to the Surah Yasin and other, about the talk of, in one of the surahs, it was about jinn being made, where Sulaiman alayhi salam, he passed away and the jinn didn't even know. So that was to show you that the jinn have no partnership with Allah. In this surah also it says later, the jinn know very well they have no partnership with Allah. But if the stupid insan, mankind, wants to use jinn and the fact that they can bring them something of the unseen and then hold them up in high glory, they say, then they have invented a blood relationship between him and the jinn. This is in ayah 158. And but the jinn know quite well that indeed they have to appear before Allah as well. So the ayah, Subhanallah amma yasifun, and but the devoted people don't do that they attribute to the jinn. So here also they said Allah has begotten a child. This is in 152, but they are liars. And that he would choose, because earlier on they said they say that what is their opinion? That Allah has daughters while they have sons, and they have made the angels of females, and they are witness that it's their own inventions. So what it's saying is there is how you want to attribute angels to be daughters of Allah and their partners, and we can pray to them and they will get us shifa and so on. So all this detail is given here, whereas angels are there for the service of Allah. They stand in ranks, they're all there. The idea of standing in ranks, which comes in Surah Saffat, is the same as in Surah Saf later on, or other things, and the idea of everybody is ranked like this. When we did Sulaiman alayhi salam, his whole army, what is the idea of being in a single file in everything? Then any gap is immediately visible. So relate again whatever is being said to how you can bring it, when in your own dunya, of how you have access to everything in one go, whether it's books, whether it's whatever you're piling. There's the idea of being in single file, all lined up properly. So that was that. Then I also want to bring up this idea of how Akhirah, what's going to happen there and how on. So I also want to read you another poem which kind of tells us where is it that we are heading and where is it that we are going. So that too I want to place give to you as if it can help you use to look at the Quran and remember these moments. So this one goes that it says, it's destination death. Arrive to destination death as you take your last breath. It creeps upon you with stealth. You can't stop it with all your wealth, no matter what your state of health. Watch out for the destination death. At every corner it can be felt, like an albatross around your neck, or a Damocles sword overhead, any moment ready to strike you dead. Anticipate your destination, no last-minute scramble. Collect belongings to get off, air freight before, far ahead, good deeds to make your bed. Final destination yet to come, death an interlude just begun. Welcome with open arms, ever ready to knock off, disarm. Calling from on high, do no harm. Destination death a prelude, but the chapter there does not conclude. Final sifting is on Judgment Day. Leave behind goodness so others pray. Appointment with death, pray it's a happy day. So that I'd like us to, we are reminded time again to remember death. To remember death, and this whole idea of the Quran, the reoccurring themes time again, Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. Allah will forgive us everything other than doing shirk. The concept of the gratitude we need to have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the infinite salawat we send to him, of how we need to be sending constant, and we have inna Allaha wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhallazina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallam taslim. If Allah and his Rasul are sending salawat to Rasulullah, you need to. That encapsulates the value of him as the final messenger, as a messenger which we need to take forward the message, but also it's all the messengers previous to them had that same message. So, how can we be so stupid? The message doesn't change. It's the same message. It's about Tawheed, the oneness of do your best, so in Akhirah you have a good place. And then, and the last being Judgment Day, the day of consequence. That is one such a thing to give us consolation, that we don't see what's here. Like at the end of the year, you can fool around for your metric or your high school exam, and yet your results will show. So no matter how you may be having fun now, those are the kind of things to bear in mind and remember. So then after that, I'd just like to say towards the tail end, how I like to remember this surah is best. Always, like I said, take home something from each surah and try and have it in your mind. Inshallah, one day then connect the whole thing. From here it goes to here to here. But here the last passage is a beautiful passage which says, it says, Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. And that's how frequently, like now at the end of this episode, I'm going to wind up, and this is what we usually read. So the beautiful thing is how it always connects that Allah starts, that He is so great, and that is those who rank themselves, and thus is the message of Allah complained. And truly, innahu ilahukum wahid. Allah is your one Rabb in charge of the heavens and the earth. I'm just going back to the beginning of the surah, and how at the end He says that glory be to Allah, the Lord of honor and power, and He is free from whatever they ascribe, whether angels as being His daughters or any other thing that they may think of. And peace to all the messengers, and praise be to Allah, the Lord and Cherisher. So with that, I'm going to just pray, and I'll repeat that. But this is the beauty of how whenever you end off, you give back that it's by Allah's mercy we have any power to speak, to have the gift of the gab, of anything. And so remember Him finally and praise Him. We start with Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. We end with that, and this again epitomizes that. So I pray it's been beneficial, whatever has been said and heard, and I be the first recipient of any goodness that comes out of the Quran, of every and any goodness that comes out of the Quran. So Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. La 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 la.